Ladies and dudes who want an open relationship but need a little bit of permission. Andy here, author of The Best Tinder Guide on the Internet, and guy who's here to give you that permission. This is the Kill You in a Loser show. Let's fucking go. I did a podcast interview with Alex from Playing With Fire on his channel a couple of weeks ago. So it was called The Guide to Threesomes and Relationships with Kill Your Inner Loser. Imi, my girlfriend, and I, that's her over here, that's me, you guys know what we look like. We went on this channel, Playing With Fire, to talk to Alex and his lovely girlfriend Natty, and we talked a lot about open relationships and all that sort of stuff, jealousy, how to get started, how to have threesomes, all of that kind of stuff. And I will leave a link to that video, so go watch it if you haven't. We covered a lot of relationships and jealousy, but what I wanted to do is go through a couple of the comments on here, because some people asked some really good questions, and then I answered on this video, and I thought we'd spin it out into a little bit of a casual, podcast. So I really liked this question. This guy says, honestly, I've been wondering about this kind of relationship for a while. So he's talking about where you both date and sleep with women together. He says, I struggle with classic monogamy, and whenever I'm with one girl, I get an urge to be with others. The ideal would be a bi girlfriend who is down to see other girls with me, but clear on the fact that we will never see other guys because I will not be sneakoed. So I think Sneeko is a guy that he was referring to. I don't know who Sneeko is, but I think the reference is basically a guy who, is in an open relationship where his girlfriend sees other guys or something like that, whatever. So the point is, and the first thing I would say here is be very clear, and you don't have to know what you want, but be clear on what you would like to try. I'll phrase it like that. The dynamic you would like to try. And if you're not sure, that's fine. You can try a few different things. But if this is something that you would like to pursue, where you're dating a woman and you guys both date women together, or you just go off and sleep with other women by yourself, or maybe you're both open and she sleeps with other guys or women and you sleep with other women, whatever it is that you feel like you like, that's perfectly wonderful. Great. Hey, perfect. I've done podcasts on this before, and my girlfriend Imogen has as well. We've sat down and talked about these topics. And one thing that comes up sometimes is where people will say, oh, but isn't it hypocritical for me as the guy to want to sleep with other women, but to not want a woman that wants to sleep with other guys? Is that hypocritical? And the answer is not if you're honest. Sure, it's hypocritical. Cool. Who gives a shit? The only thing that matters in a relationship is, are you happy? Is she happy? Are you getting more out of the relationship versus if you weren't in it? Is it adding to your life? And is it adding to her life? Those are the only 4 questions that actually matter. So are you both happy, and are you both getting a lot out of the relationship? Is it adding to your lives? That's all that matters. Hypocrisy, or whether or not it's equal, or whether or not you're both doing 50-50, none of that shit matters. And I've done so many podcasts on this topic. A relationship can never be equal. And in fact, if you pursue this weird, almost reckless idea of equality, and I say the same stuff about a lot of feminism gets this, confused as well. If you pursue this equality at all costs, and this idea of it has to be exactly equal fair, you end up having to keep score of every little thing, right? It becomes, hey, listen, I've done the dishes more than you. You've only done the dishes 3 times this week. I've done it 5. Well, hey, guess what then, fucker? I've listened to you 6 times and you've only listened to me once. Well, I cooked you dinner 4 times and you only cooked dinner for me 1 time. Yeah, well, hey, I was really nice to you the other week when you were a bitch, and you weren't nice to me when I was grumpy. And you end up sort of keeping ammunition on each other and keeping this weird scorecard where you're, heading or you're desperate for this pursuit of equality or everything to be exactly equal and fair. A relationship isn't like that. You both have your own wants and needs and desires. You both might want different things. You both have different preferences. Something that is super important to you might not be as important to someone else. And so instead, what I would look at, instead of worrying about is it equal? Is it hypocrisy? Is it this? No, why should that shit even matter? It's, are you both happy? And are you both benefiting from the relationship? Is the relationship adding to your lives? If the answer is yes, what do you care what the structure is? You're happy. You're both happy. You're both getting a lot out of the relationship. What should it matter what the structure is? And so I'll say that first and foremost. Don't stress so much. Your mission here, if this is something you as a man want, and any women listening, if this is something you want, whatever it is that you want, decide to be clear in that. And that can take some experimentation. Sometimes you have to try different relationship dynamics. You don't know if you'll like it until you actually try it. An open relationship isn't just perfect. It's not just like, oh, I get to go and sleep with a lot of women and it's wonderful. It is wonderful, but like, it's not just by default better than monogamy. I never claimed that. I would never claim that. It comes with its own pros and cons and its own, things to work through and challenges and all of that sort of stuff. Insecurity and jealousy being a big one. If you're going to do an open relationship, oh boy, you got to be ready to communicate. You can't just like let things be unsaid like you kind of can in monogamy. You can kind of get away with that, but in an open relationship, well, son, you got to talk. You got to be able to fucking sit down and actually talk about the stuff that you might not want to hear, about jealousy, about insecurity, and all of that kind of stuff. So it definitely comes with its own pros and cons, but I love our relationship, my relationship with Imi. Monogamy works perfectly well as well if that's something that you're into. So I would, at the start, to bring it back to the original point, I would sit down and be clear about what it is that you want. And again, if you don't know, you can just try some stuff and see what you like and what feels good. But if this is something you want to pursue, then just be clear in that. And if part of that means I want to see other people, but I would like to find someone that is happy to just see me, then go out and seek that. And it's not about controlling. It's not about saying to the other person, you can't see other people. It's like, no, that doesn't fucking work, does it? That doesn't feel good in you because you have to constantly control someone else. That doesn't feel good. And it doesn't feel good for them, feeling like you're telling them what they can do. And then that's when words like hypocrisy will start coming in. So instead what you're doing is you're finding a woman that would be happy with this dynamic, who goes, yeah, great, I don't want to sleep with other people. You do, great. That's essentially what I have with Imi. She came to me after about 9 months, maybe a year of us just dating very casually. And she said, you know what? I don't think I want to see other guys anymore. And I was like, cool, if you don't want to, don't. I'm going to continue seeing other girls. And I'd made that very clear. And that's another thing I would say. Be very, very, very honest and upfront. I'm honest from the first time I sleep with someone. Or Imi and I are honest with the first time we sleep with someone. We say, hey, by the way, we usually see, more than one person at a time. Or sometimes we like to be open to seeing more than one person at a time. We're not necessarily always doing that, but we like to be open to that. We want to be very clear with you about that and very honest and upfront. So make sure you're very honest and upfront about this stuff. And I was with Imi from literally immediately when we first started sleeping together. And I made it very clear that like this will never change. I will always want to sleep with other women. That is never going to stop. That's who I am. If you're not okay with that, I perfectly understand. I'm not going to make you do something you don't want to do, but this is essentially what's going on and what you would be signing up for. And at any point you can, you're not signing a contract or something. You can leave at any point, but I made that very clear. And so I would be very clear with this kind of stuff. And then you're just basically going out and saying, hey, I'm going to find the woman that is happy to sleep with just me, but is cool with me either sleeping with women with her or me sleeping with women without her. Like, you're just finding that. And in case it's not clear what the dynamic I have with Imogen is, with my girlfriend Imogen, I never at any point said, hey, I don't want you to sleep with other guys. It was more just we both kind of like moved towards that. And at some point it was like, yeah, I really like, she said, I really like what I have with you. I don't think I want to sleep with other guys anymore. Because she was at that point. Up until that point, we'd been very casual and open. And I said, cool, if that's something you want. And then we kind of just both moved towards that. And I was like, I really like the idea of you just sleeping with me. And she said, I really like the idea of you only sleeping with women if we're doing it together. And so we kind of just moved in that direction. So again, you don't have to always know exactly what you're wanting or what you would like or the dynamic you would like. You can kind of figure that stuff out and talk about it and figure it out. And if you're ultimately incompatible with someone, hey, isn't that great? You guys have both figured out what you both want. That's what incompatibility is. A lot of people kind of have this negative idea of like, what if eventually she leaves me? Or what if eventually he doesn't want this anymore and he breaks up with me? It's like, isn't that a beautiful thing? You're essentially saying he has figured out what he wants and now he's free to go and pursue that. I have figured out what I want and now I'm free to go and pursue that. How could that ever be a bad thing? That's a fucking beautiful thing. Two people that know what they want. That sounds wonderful to me. So don't be afraid of, this kind of stuff and boundaries changing and all of that and you adapting and growing and maybe moving apart or maybe sticking together and figuring out a way for it to work. So there's a million different relationship dynamics that are possible. There is no hard and fast rules with this stuff. The only rules that I would say, and it's not really a rule, is just ask yourself, am I happy? Are they happy? Am I getting is the relationship benefiting me? Am I getting a lot out of it? And is the relationship benefiting them? If the answer to any of those 4 questions is ever no, you can sit down and say, are there solutions to this problem? How can we make it? Can we adjust something? Can we try something? Can we talk about it? Is there something that you want from the relationship that maybe I can't give you that you could get from yourself or from somewhere else or someone else? And that doesn't even have to be sexually, by the way. It's like if you're having a feeling of like, I wish we would just, I don't know. I wish I could get more affection from you. I wish you were more affectionate. Sometimes you give that to yourself, right? You go be affectionate with your friends. You start praising and giving gratitude to other people. That's affection. You start being nice to yourself. You take a day for yourself once a week. That's affection, you know what I mean? So there's different ways to give yourself the thing you want. We're kind of getting off tangent here. So I think what I'll do is read out what I wrote to this guy with this question. Essentially, this guy's saying, hey, I want something similar to what you and Imi have, or like this style of relationship. Essentially, I don't know if I'm allowed to have it. That's kind of the question that a lot of people ask, right? So as I said, if this is something you want, pursue it. This is definitely not a relationship type that will just fall into your lap. You have to be the one to go out there and make it happen. Yes, if we're going to talk about an open relationship, that will never, and this applies to women as well. Women, if you want an open relationship, that is never just going to randomly fucking happen. Or it might if you play the numbers game like crazy and you just date like 50 fucking people, and finally you find the one who's like, hey, by the way, I'm always going to be non-monogamous, and you're like, oh wow, I found the person. But it's like, if you want something like this, make it happen. And so that's just a process of, as I go on to say, screening or being very upfront and honest. So every girl or every guy that you go on a date with, you say, this is what I'm looking for. Is this something that you would be looking for? And you find the ones that want that. As I say in here, if you want to actually have like threesomes, every girl that you go on a date with, you say, have you ever fooled around with another girl or thought about it? You just kind of lead into that. And if she says, yes, I have, or yes, I would want to, okay, cool. Like you found a bisexual or a bi-curious woman that might want to explore this with you. And the ones that say no to that, where they're like, no, I'm completely straight, I would never want to do anything like that. That's okay. Like you're just not looking for the same thing. Or if you don't want exactly the same style of relationship as what Emi and I have, where we date women together, if you just want to date a woman and then also be seeing other girls separately, just mention that on the first date to every girl that you go on a date with. Just be like, hey, listen, something that I'm ultimately looking for, or what I want, or I'm a non-monogamous person. You can say it like that. I'm always non-monogamous. How does that sit with you? Is that something you're also looking for? Just be very upfront about this stuff. And the ones who say yes, awesome. Pursue dates with them. Keep it casual for a while. Learn to grow together and build something. And if that ultimately builds into a relationship, beautiful. Like, if it's casual, whatever it is that you guys both ultimately want together. But anyone that says, no, I think I want monogamy, right there and then, don't go any further. Or I could say it like this. Keep it going. Do whatever you want, ultimately, but just know that that's probably not the person that you're going to have something long-term with. And that's perfectly fine. Right? There's nothing wrong with shorter-term relationships as long as you're both very honest and upfront and you're both happy to keep it casual for a little while. But if a woman directly says, like, no, I really want monogamy, then maybe you say to yourself, hey, maybe I don't go any further with this person because this is something that I want. It's very important to me, or it's something that I want to try, as in, non-monogamy or an open relationship. And so I think I won't go any further with the people that say no to this. And over time, you can start doing that earlier and earlier. Or you can just do that immediately if you want to, earlier and earlier, like right on Tinder. You can say, hey, by the way, I'm non-monogamous. You put it in your fucking bio. Any women that you talk to in person, when you get their phone number, or even in the conversation, just be like, by the way, like I'm non-monogamous, or I usually see multiple people at a time. Is that something you're open to? And if they say no, hey, cool. You've saved yourself and them some time. So basically the main thing here is being honest and upfront from the start. That's very much what I have always done with Imogen and, other girls that we see. Very honest and upfront from the start. This is who I am. This is what I like. How does that sit with you? Is that something that you want? If you don't, brilliant. Hey, isn't that cool? We've learned that you want something different. You're going to go off and do that. I'm going to do my own thing. Sweet. Awesome. Great. So yeah, it's about like being honest and upfront and not trying to make someone be this way, because I think some people do that, right? Guys and girls do this, where they will meet someone that they really like, but because they haven't been upfront and honest from the very beginning and said, hey, this is what I'm looking for, they will kind of start to catch feelings for the person. They start to really like each other, and then they go, hey, by the way, there's this thing that I really want, and the other person goes, oh, no, I don't want that. But because they both have feelings and they're attached now, they will try and manipulate, or they will try and get something from each other. They'll try and like, is there any way that I can make you do this? Like, how can I, get them to say yes to this thing that I want? And it's like, that's a fool's endeavor. You're only going to dislike yourself. You're going to dislike them. You wouldn't really respect them if they give you something that they didn't actually want to give, as in if they say yes to something they didn't really want to say yes to. And they're not really going to like you, because in order for you to convince someone to do something they don't want to do, you kind of lose yourself. You kind of become a little bit of a controller or a manipulator and all that kind of stuff. And that doesn't feel that good. So being honest and upfront from the start is the key here. So, yeah, we're talking here specifically with what I said about, like, the rest of what I say here is if you're looking for the same type of relationship that I have with Imi, where we both sleep with women together and date women together. So you can either do that with your girlfriend, like you can both look for girls together, or what you could do is if you're seeing two girls casually, you can kind of bring them together. This is more about how to have a threesome, which was something that this guy sort of was about the whole podcast. But if we're just talking about an open relationship in general, rather than necessarily you two sleeping with women together or dating women together, really that's just you being upfront, like telling them from the very beginning. And again, women, this applies to you too. Just being very upfront from the very beginning about what you want. And the people that don't want that, again, isn't that fucking beautiful? That they are able to answer with integrity inside themselves and say, hey, I don't want that thing. Doesn't that make you want to just give them a fucking hug or a high five and be like, yo, I fucking respect you for knowing what you want. That's awesome. I hope you go out and find it. That's brilliant. Good job. Good job you fucking saying what you want. Because here's what I want. You want something different? Great. I hope you go and find that thing. Let me know if I can help you find that thing. So just being very honest and upfront from the very beginning. Yeah, as I said in the last paragraph here, I have a few friends who are in relationship like mine and Imi's, as in they date women together, or they're just in a casual relationship, like an open relationship, and all of them screened for that. They built that. They were very honest and upfront about it from the very beginning, and then they went after it. And so as I said to this guy, you can definitely do it, my man. And if someone like me can do it, you sure as hell can too. Like, let's make that clear. I've said this a million times. It's kind of the motto of my website, right? If I can do this shit, you can too. I'm not doing anything special. It's just a case of going out there and being very honest and upfront with my intentions or my desires or what I wanted, and then finding the people that want that too. It's not about like making someone want something or talking them into it or convincing them. I get these questions every now and then. Not a lot, because I think most of you kind of get it, but I'll get some sort of innocent questions from people where they're like, how can I convince my girlfriend to open the relationship up? And it's like, bro, there's no convincing. She either wants it or she doesn't. And now you can, phrase it in certain ways that sound exciting to her. You can sit down and talk with her and say, is there anything about this that you would want? Like, is there something about this that excites you? Sure, you can do all of that stuff. But I rally against the word convince, because I think a lot of people use the word convince in place of manipulate. It basically has the same undercurrent a lot of times. And so rather than saying, how do I convince someone of something, it's like, how do I ask if this is something that they would want? How do I present them a package of like, hey, here's what I want. Do you think this would be exciting? And obviously there's ways you can do that. You can make it sound exciting. Like I said, you can talk through all the pros for them. You can sit down and think about, is there anything, like what would they be getting out of this? And that's probably the best answer I can give you, right? Rather than thinking, I want this thing. How do I get it? It's like, wait, what would they get out of it? How would they benefit if we did this? Is there some way that this would be better for them? Let me give that value to them. Let me give them as much value as I can. Let me show them how it would improve, or how I think it might improve their life. And let me say to them, hey, I think this would be really good for you. It'd be good for me, obviously. That's why I want to do it. I'm not selfless, just trying to do something nice for you. But, would you be up for this? And ultimately, if they say no, then they said no. And sometimes you can have a conversation later on and say, hey, I know you said initially no, but like, I'd like to talk about this a little bit more. It's kind of important to me, sure. But I think ultimately the way you navigate this kind of stuff is by just being very upfront and honest from the very beginning. Most of you listening aren't necessarily in relationships. A lot of you are, particularly as I start to do more relationship content. I'm going to bring in people who are in relationships, obviously, but I think a lot of you are either in the stages of casual dating, or you just want to have some sex, get laid a little bit, or maybe you're sort of navigating the early stages of a relationship. But I think the answer there is always going to be being very honest and upfront. If you are in a relationship and you do say something like, I want to open it up, understand that that's playing a little bit more on difficult mode. You're sort of playing on hard mode there. There's obviously insecurities and all of that kind of stuff, and you would want to be very loving about it. I'm doing coaching with a couple right now. Imi and I are coaching a couple. We're coaching two couples technically, but we're coaching one particular couple who, before they signed up for coaching with me, decided to open their relationship up, and they'd been together for like 9 years, and you know, he wanted them both to sleep with girls together, and she said, sure, like we can try that, we'll see how that feels. And they've done that a fair bit now. I think they've slept with like 5 people together, 5 women together, and they're having a fair bit of fun with that. But it was definitely something for them that took a lot of love and patience and empathy and understanding. If you're going to open a relationship up, that's a big fucking deal. It's not just like, oh, let's go on Tinder. You know, we've been together for 5 years. Let's just jump on Tinder and bang a girl together. It's like, you're basically playing with dynamite at that point. You might not be fully prepared for the jealousy and the insecurity and how it feels in the moment, because it might sound good on paper. It might sound like a fun little sexy fetish on paper. When you're in that moment where she's actually watching you with another woman, if she's not ready for that, if she's not at a point where she might think she's ready, but it's very different in person, obviously, that can feel a little bit like a child handling dynamite. It kind of just blows up in your face, right? So with stuff like this, if you are in a relationship, my advice is don't just immediately open it up and think it's just going to be like fun and sex. And I'm talking about a proper long-term relationship. It's different if you're just casual, obviously. But if you're in a proper long-term relationship, you know, you've been together for 3 years, 2 years, 5 years, something decently long, I would tiptoe into this. I would take your time. Maybe I can do a separate video, or I might do at some point like a paid video course or something, if there's appeal for it, of like how to get into an open relationship, how to build an open relationship. And in that, I would also have a chapter on like what to do if you're in a monogamous relationship that you want to open up, and how to handle that and navigate those waters with as much empathy and care and love for each other as you possibly can. But in the meantime, what I would say is, if this is something that you're contemplating, go very, very, very gently and very slowly. As in, the first couple of times you do this, I would not be jumping into sex immediately. I would be going on a date with people. I would be spending a lot of time getting to know them. I would go on like 3 dates before you even do anything sexual. I would basically be trying to build like almost not a friendship, but like I would really be vetting to make sure that everyone involved wants to be doing this. Again, all of this applies if you're in a long-term relationship that you're then opening up. Go on a couple of dates, go on 3 dates, get to know each other, and then I would start with something really gentle. You're all back at your place, and you say, hey, do you two women want to try kissing? Like, hey, I want you two to kiss. Let them kiss, let them fool around. And I would almost, the first time, as the man, I would almost not be involved the first time. Or I would do it something like, let them fool around, let them have a lot of fun. You're just kind of watching, jerk yourself off. Maybe your girlfriend can give you a blowjob. Maybe you kind of let your girlfriend go at her pace, because you as the man, generally speaking, generally speaking, in that kind of situation, again, we're talking specifically a long-term relationship that you're then opening up. Generally speaking, you as the guy, as long as you're attracted to the woman, you're probably not going to have as much jealousy, although you might. I had a little bit of jealousy my first threesome. I did. When Imi was kissing the other girl, I felt a little bit of like, oh, okay, there's something weird inside me. Okay. It went away after a couple of minutes, but that's kind of what I'm talking about, that some feelings can come up sometimes that you're not prepared. That's why I say go really slowly. And especially, often you as the man, as long as you're attracted to her, you're willing to sleep with her. But for a woman, there's a lot more going on, because, I've talked about this with Imi on podcasts and stuff. A lot of the time as a woman, you feel this, as in if you and your man are going to be sleeping with another woman together, you can often feel sort of like insecure, like she's prettier than me, her tits are better than me. And both women will do that, by the way. And that's kind of a fun exercise when you're all kind of naked together. I love to say to one girl, like, hey, what are you insecure about on her body? And she'll list like 5 things. And then Amy will say, oh my God, but I love those things about you. I'm jealous of those exact same body parts on me. And the girl will go, what are you talking about? Like, those body parts are perfect on you. Mine suck. And so it's kind of a fun thing that lots of girls get very insecure about the same things on themselves that they love in the other girl. And so, yeah, the point that I'm getting to is often there's a lot of insecurity, or there can be some insecurity and jealousy. I obviously have a full-on threesome guide. I probably recommend, if this is something you guys care about, I probably recommend just grabbing a copy of that. It's on my website. Just go to killyourinnerloser.com. I can't link directly to it because it's got nudie pictures and stuff, so I can't link to it on YouTube. But go to my website, killyourinnerloser.com, and there's a big button at the top, threesome. Click that. Got a full-on guide on this stuff, on how to handle insecurity and jealousy and stuff like that. But it's, yeah, I know we got massively off track here, but insecurity and jealousy can come up. So if you're going to open up an already long established relationship, I would just do that very gently, like really, really, really slowly. Even the first time you guys sleep together, as the man, I'd just be nice and gentle and let them play around a little bit. Maybe you fuck your girl while she goes down on the other woman. Maybe you and your girl do a lot of stuff and the other girl can kind of just like watch a little bit, as long as she's having fun. Like, don't just leave her sitting there while you cuck her, but have a little bit of fun together and just let it go like really slow. And then afterwards, I would do almost like a debrief with your woman. You two can talk. Hey, did any jealousy come up? Did any insecurity? How was that? How was that for both of us? Is there anything we'd change? Is there anything we want to do next time? How was that? Talk to the woman as well. Send her a text afterwards. Hey, was that fun for you? That was really fun for us. Like, is there any parts that you want to do different? And kind of just like tiptoe into this stuff, right? I see a lot of couples, on Tinder especially, there are so many couples that have in their thing like, hey, me and hubby want to try having a one-night stand with a new girl. Like, this is, or like, hey, I'm surprising my boyfriend with a unicorn, which is the name for a woman that you would bring into a relationship, like the second woman. I want to surprise him, so we're going to fuck. And it's like, basically what I'm getting at is there's so many couples on Tinder that it's very clear they've never done this before. And they're just like, hey, come straight over and let's have a one-night stand. It's like, you don't know what you're necessarily getting yourself into. I'm not saying it will go poorly. How the fuck could I know that? That's the point. How could I know that? You're almost acting as if like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be wonderful. And I do sort of wonder how many of those people will get with a girl and in the middle of it be like, oh, this is not what I thought it would be. Or it's great, but like, holy fuck, I feel insecure. Or he's paying so much. This is something that can come up. He's paying more attention to her and he's not paying attention to me. Fuck, I feel left out now. I'm supposed to be his girlfriend, but because this woman is like some shiny new object in front of him, and you know what we're like as guys, we see a new woman, we want to just like, oh my God, she's so pretty. Like, you kind of get a little bit obsessed. That sort of shiny object syndrome, that can happen. And if you haven't been prepared for it, if you haven't tiptoed slowly into it, or if you haven't sort of like been prepared for it or talked about it, yeah, a little bit of insecurity and stuff can come up. And that's not the end of the world or anything, but like, I hope none of this comes across as me being a concern troll or something, or saying like, oh, open relationships suck. Again, we're talking more if you're in a long-term relationship that you then decide to just randomly open up. I would do that gently. I think it goes better for everyone involved, and then you feel like you can relax and you can actually enjoy it. And I've said this before, but you would want your first threesome or your first couple of threesomes to be really great. You'd rather them be really great rather than like shit and she doesn't want to do it again. And so it's in your best interest, and obviously hers as well, for you all to have a great time so that it's something you all enjoy. It adds to your lives, it adds to your relationship, and it's something that you want to do more of. So I know we went massively off topic there, but if an open relationship is something that you want to do, pursue it, go crazy. I obviously have plenty of advice on that. If there's any questions you guys have, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I'd be happy to answer. I love answering these kind of questions. I love talking about like relationships, particularly open ones. Like I said, at some point I might do some sort of like really in-depth, really hardcore guide or a video guide or something. It would be paid. That would just be like, the definitive guide to open relationships or something like that. It probably won't be for a while. I have a lot of other plans and a bunch of other shit that I'm doing. But yeah, if that's something you guys want, feel free to let me know. Like I said, if you have any extra questions, the threesome guide is on my website. The paid threesome guide is on my website. There's also a free version of it on my website that you can go and start reading if you want to. It's like basically the first chapter for free. It is the first chapter for free, so that's on my website as well. I have coaching if you feel you would benefit from that. If you have any questions on this, I also coach couples now. officially, right? I've got 2 couples that I am coaching, or Imogen's helping me coach as well. So that's been a lot of fun. So if you're in a relationship and you would like couples counseling, or the way that I phrase it is more like, if you and your girlfriend, or any women listening, if you and your man, or hey, any lesbians or gay dudes listening, you and your partner, probably could have just said that at the start. If you and your partner want to build something fucking epic, hey, that's what I'm here for. That's what Emmy is here for. So we're very much, don't come to us if you just want to sort of have couples counseling. Come to us if you're like, no, we want the best relationship of all time. I have so many strategies. I'm going to do more and more content on this. I've already done about 12 videos on relationship advice and building something magical, something beautiful, going all in with a relationship, how to constantly generate gratitude and appreciation for each other and praising each other and getting, because here's one of the myths in relationships, right? Is like relationships should be work. Another one is that like over time you get complacent in a relationship. And it's like both of those things are fundamentally fucking false. Why should a relationship be work or suffering or pain or like, ugh, I have to put in work? It sucks. Like, why should it ever be that? Aren't you doing it so that your life is better and her life is better? So therefore, shouldn't every day it be like this beautiful thing that adds to both of your lives? And as for the second one of like relationships lead to complacency, it's like, shouldn't you be less complacent over time? Shouldn't you be closer to each other and more appreciative of each other? Isn't that something that you're building every single day? Don't you want to get to a point where you wake up every day and you just look into each other's eyes and you're fucking both just crying and you're like, holy shit, I'm so grateful for you. That is at this point with Imogen and I, basically every 2 days, we just look into each other's eyes and be like, holy shit, I am so grateful for you. Like, I don't even fucking know what to say. At this point, that's basically every day. Yeah, I can just go out and say that's basically every day. And that's something that you build up over time. You have to build that. You have to build that. If you're just doing the general thing that most people in a relationship do, relationship is just complacency. You get into a relationship and you're like, cool, I guess we're in a relationship now. I don't need to work on myself. Or I'll work on myself, but I don't need to, the relationship isn't something to build. It's something that exists. I've locked you in now. I've locked you down. You're stuck. I'm stuck. Great. It's like, that's not what a relationship is. A relationship is this like house that you're constantly building. Or I also phrase it like this, a garden that you're constantly watering and loving and nurturing. That's a relationship. It should be something that adds to your life. And even if you're not in a relationship, all of this applies to casual relationships as well. Don't you want every guy or every girl, person that you're sleeping with, don't you want to build something with them? Even if it's casual. Don't you just want to build a bunch of like fun memories? There's a girl that we're seeing right now that, funnily enough, we're going to get her on the podcast in the next couple of days. And, it's casual. We're seeing her casually, but like, we're pushing. Why wouldn't you push her? And she's pushing us. It's like, yo, what are you working on this week? Yo, hey, you've started a 365-day project. You're doing something every day. That's fucking beautiful. Motivate her every day. She will send us text messages every day like, hey, how's your day going? What are you guys working on? What are your goals? What are you doing this? Like, we're building something, even if it's casual. Even if she stops seeing us a month from now. I don't think she would. We're certainly not going to stop seeing her a month from now. But like, if she did, it's like, cool, we spent a month practicing the skills of building something. We spent a month practicing building intimacy, building accountability, building self-improvement in each other. We practiced building communication. We practiced building sex. The sex is already pretty fucking crazy, and we've only slept with her like 3 times, 4 times, something like that. So you're building sex skills. You're both getting better at sex. So even in a casual relationship, I talk about this all the time. I advocate for building something. It doesn't have to take effort. That's the point. It's supposed to be fun. You're doing it because it adds to you. You're doing it because you like the person that you are when you help someone else grow. Or you like the fact that they will reciprocate if you praise them a lot and encourage them and help them grow. And even if all you do is have a lot of fun sex together, they will give that back to you because they want to, because everyone likes to reciprocate. The universe is a giant fucking mirror. The universe really is a mirror. You give and people will bounce that straight back to you and give back to you. Everybody likes people that are generous. And so build, even in a casual relationship, even if literally all you're doing is having sex and then saying, hey, that was fun, goodbye, build something. So if those are some things that you would like some coaching on, I obviously have the big hardcore coaching packages, got one-on-one coaching and the group coaching. Both of those are 12 weeks. Those are the go all in packages for when you're serious. And like I said, I'm absolutely all in on relationship stuff at this point. So if you're someone that wants to build a relationship, you're either in one or you want to build one, please hit me up for that. Like I said, got 2 couples right now that are just some of the nicest fucking wonderful people. Business as well. I've taken on a bunch of people right now that have said, I want to build a business. I have no idea how to build a business. I have no idea what I would even do. We've already gotten one of the guys in the program right now who I think he's on week 6, and he's already a coach. He hit me up saying, I have no idea what I want to do. I want to start a business, I guess. I want some money. And we went through the whole thing. And I said, what do you actually want to do? What would you be good at? We listed it all out. We brainstormed. We went through, my process. I have a process now for how to get people to start a business. And one of the things on there, he goes like, I think I want to do what you do, Andy. I think I want to coach and maybe do some content, but I don't think I deserve that. I don't think I'm good enough. And so I was like, right, that's the fucking thing that we're doing. That's the thing that when I talk to you about it, you get a big smile on your face. And so I pushed him. I gave him a bunch of strategies. Maybe I can do a video on that if that's something you guys care about, like how you would actually get started as a coach or a content creator. Gave him a bunch of marketing ideas, gave him a bunch of article writing ideas and all of that. I think at this point he's written like 50 articles. He's worked with like 6 coaching clients, I think. The first couple were free, which is one of my strategies. I say just start out for free. And then at some point you say to people, hey, pay me whatever you think this session was worth. So you do a session, you say, hey, whatever you think that was worth, just pay me that. He already had one guy pay him $150 and he's just like, whew, he's over the moon for that. He's like, I didn't think I could earn $1 from coaching. And some guy just paid me $150 for an hour. Like, holy fucking shit. So I'm super proud of this guy. I'm probably going to get him on the podcast to do like an interview at the end of his coaching. I think he'd be up for it. So that's really exciting. I've had another couple of guys. One guy's a game developer and he's like learning, we're talking to him and helping him with marketing and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've had multiple people at this point that go, I want to start a business. And it's like, what do you want to do? And whatever they want to do, we just go all in on that. So if that's something you guys want, hit me up for the coaching. Short of that, if you don't have the cash for that, obviously those 2 coaching programs are premium. They cost a bit of money. I do take payment plans if that's something you want, but I'm still offering those little $250 30-minute coaching calls. And I say 30 minutes. They usually go for longer than that, but I try and keep them to 30 minutes, but I'm really bad at not going over time. In case you guys couldn't tell, I'll phrase that in a positive way. I am really good at continuing to talk until I fully answer someone's question. And so I've had, so many calls that go longer than 30 minutes. But anyway, I'm still offering those. Those are really fun. I'm enjoying those. Links to all of that shit in the description below. If an open relationship is something you want, go out and pursue it. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, what do you need to do? Crush your goal.